Good afternoon, friends. I, Rakhi Sharma, Program Coordinator of ACPDM, welcome you all in this interactive teleconferencing program of Advanced Certificate in Power Distribution Management. In this session, we will discuss about the energy accounting. It's our privilege to have Mr. K.K. Chakravarti from Bureau of Energy Efficiency. We have already discussed about the energy auditing in distribution sector, and now we are going to discuss about the energy accounting. Friends, this is the live interactive session. We request you to ask any question during the presentation. Our toll-free number is 1800-12345. You can write it 1800-12345. This is our toll-free number. You can call at any time during the presentation. Now, I request Shri Chakravarti to take up his presentation.
Thank you, madam. Welcome back. Now we are going to discuss the second part of our presentation, energy accounting. As I said earlier, energy audit is the overall umbrella and energy accounting is a part of the energy audit. Let's look at the finer points of energy accounting. Energy accounting forms the basis for detailed and complete evaluation of the power supply system. In fact, without energy accounting, a complete detailed energy audit cannot be done. It's a system of recording, analyzing and reporting energy consumption and cost on a regular basis. This helps in an accurate accounting of the energy generated, transferred, as well as energy lost and revenue realized at each level of power generation, transmission and distribution. To my mind, if a distribution company is having a proper energy accounting system, that company will be in a position to achieve the minimum technical and commercial losses. Through energy accounting, we can estimate the aggregate technical and commercial losses. Also, the energy accounting facilitates the increased revenue utilization, increased revenue realization for the energy supply to the consumers, and also it helps in utilizing, it helps the utility in bringing accountability and efficiency in its working. The word accountability is the word which is being now stressed more. Accountability is being fixed for all the employees right from the chief engineer level down the line. So accounting will be in a position to help in fixing that accountability. The process of energy accounting can be represented in this way: energy available, then energy consumed, whatever is the balance between energy available and the energy consumed, that's energy losses, and then what the revenue has been realized and what have been the revenue losses. What is the need for energy accounting? When a comprehensive energy accounting is carried out by a utility, it will help in identifying the losses in the different segments. Secondly, energy problems in the and the billing errors could also be identified and tackled. Secondly, it would provide a basis for prioritizing energy capital investments. So where have been the most commercial losses or the technical losses, this can help the management in prioritizing the energy capital investments for the procurement of instruments, metering, or the transmission system, or the distribution system, or the transformers. So accounting will be in a position to assist the management in taking a decision on prioritization of capital investment. So with the help of energy accounting, one can evaluate the success of energy conservation and management efforts made in the distribution system. What are the objectives and functions of energy accounting? The main objective is to prepare an energy account on each feeder. And once we do that, then we can segregate the losses into technical and non-technical losses. Again, based on this, when this has been achieved, then we will be in a position to identify the areas of mismatch between billing and revenue collection. After that, we will be in a position to take decision on improving metering, billing and collection methods. On these factors, then we will be in a position to identify the high loss areas and remedial steps required for reduction of both technical and commercial losses. Then we can prepare the benchmarks of actual system losses within the standards. If you look at the functions of energy accounting, basically for the whole power sector, it can account for the generation station efficiency, transmission distribution efficiency, it can monitor conformity with the metering requirements, it can prepare energy flow diagrams, it can help in preparing energy balancing, performance of degradation analysis, that is when a new equipment was purchased, when what was its efficiency, and after 5 years or 10 years of operation, what have been the degradation, we will be in a position to estimate this thing. Then finally benchmarking, and then rest of the things, the fuel procurement and handling efficiency, these are meant for power generator, power stations, estimation of non-meter consumption, trend analysis and forecasting, auxiliary and captive consumption, and general management information system reports. So finally, energy accounting will help us in generating MIS reports. Now let's discuss aggregate technical and commercial losses in a power distribution network. As we discussed in the first session, that technical losses in the network occur on account of losses in the conductors due to conversion of electrical energy to heat energy. Basically, in electrical system, whatever losses are happening, they are being converted into heat energy. I mean, this is basic principle we should understand. Any equipment, any system which is running hot, it means the losses are taking place in that particular system. And no system or no equipment is there where we can have 100% efficiency. So there will be certain friction, certain losses, certain problems because of which we will be encountering such losses. So there are transformer losses, there are overloading of existing lines and substation equipment, then poor maintenance and repair of equipment, inadequate reactive compensation. That is, if you don't have if you do not have sufficient power factor capacitor correction, then because of high lagging reactive power, the line losses, transformer losses are bound to increase. Then lack of modernization of old lines and equipment, then low HT to LT ratio, where we have less of high transmission lines and more of low transmission lines. So commercial losses in the network occur due to non-performing or underperforming defective meters, erroneous multiplying factors because of different CT-PT ratios, defects in circuitry, non-reading meters, pilferage by manipulating or by bypassing of meters, tempering of meter reading by mechanical jerks, placement of powerful magnets or disturbing the disk rotation by foreign materials in case of electromagnetic meters, and theft by direct tapping. Let's understand the concept of aggregate technical and commercial losses. The sum total of technical and commercial losses is termed as transmission distribution loss. What we are able to see at the projection level in the various states, when we say transmission distribution losses, it includes technical losses and commercial losses. But these transmission and distribution losses do not capture the revenue losses. Basically, when electricity is being supplied, it is being bought at certain value, and when it is being supplied and is being received at the consumer and the revenue is being collected. So the revenue loss which take place, this transmission distribution loss does not capture that amount. That is, for those units for which the revenue is not being collected, this T&D doesn't capture that. So that's why the concept aggregate technical and commercial losses was introduced. So it is a difference between the units input into the system and units for which the payment is collected. That is, we have to look into the units which have been supplied and units for which the payment has been finally collected by the utility. So that's the AT&C. As an example, it has been very well explained in your book. For example, there are unit input is 100 million units, units billed are 70 million units. That is for which the bills have been generated. So T&D loss is 30 million units in this particular case. Suppose the revenue collected with reference to bill demand is 90%, that is only the revenue collection is to the extent of 90% of the 70 million units, then that means the utility is in a position to collect revenue only for 63 million units. So T&D loss in this case is 30 million units, but when we talk of AT&C loss, so it amounts to 37 million units. So AT&C losses will always be higher than the T&D losses. The organization structure and this areas of responsibility for energy accounting, as we said that each person who is involved in distribution system, proper responsibility is being fixed. So this is one model where the accountability is being proposed at the chief engineer level. He looks into the town, which is divided into circles, say P circles in each town. Then superintending engineer level, the circles are divided into a set of substations, a Q substation in each circle. Then assistant engineer or electrical engineer level, these substations are divided into set of feeders, say R feeders. And at the junior engineer level, then each feeder, he looks into the feeders where the customers are being supplied with electricity. This is a diagram which is there in your course books where such pictorial presentation has been made, how the responsibility flows down to the level of junior engineer. As we discussed that energy accounting helps in creating energy balance, how much has been the energy input and how much has been energy output. So naturally energy input will always be higher than the energy output, and there will be a technical losses and commercial losses. So energy output, there will be a unbalance always. So but this energy accounting will finally help us in identifying that loss which is happening between these two factors. At the country level, if you look at that, we have local primary energy sources, that is we have our own energy sources which we generate within the country. Then we import, for example in case of our petroleum product, we are self-sufficient to the extent of only 30%, and 70% of our energy on account of petroleum product is being met through imports. So we are dependent to the extent of 70% as far as the oil is concerned. And the other form of energy which we use extensively is the coal. No doubt we are self-sufficient, and but still imports on the coal also are increasing because our coal quality is becoming poor day after day because of increased ash levels in our coal, and our power stations or industry is facing problem in burning such coal. So coal is being imported and then blended with our existing our Indian coal, and so that they are in a position to burn such blended coal in order to achieve the desired efficiency levels of the existing boilers or the systems. And this is the energy input and energy output, the losses which are taking place when the primary energy is converted into secondary energy. Then there may be certain energy exports also. For example, the oil which we import, our refineries, we have surplus capacity. We are exporting some of our product to foreign countries, or petrochemical products are being exported. So we have energy exports as well. Then some balance energy we use in our country, and there could be a reduction of stock or storage, and there could be statistical difference. So basically, if you look at the country level, this is a balance between energy input and output. Let's come back again to your subject, how to measure and separate the technical and commercial losses. One has to undertake energy accounting for a particular 11 kV feeder. The difference of energy input measured at feeder and the recorded consumption is the total loss. That's what we discussed earlier. So total loss is energy input measured at feeder end, then minus the recorded consumption. So using modern distribution system analysis software, one can carry out a simulation study for the load flow for different loading conditions during the energy accounting period. Because load is not constant, load is varying with respect to time. Morning load is different, morning demand is different, afternoon demand is different. So the losses will also keep on varying. During peak time the losses are maximum, during lean time the losses are minimum. Because we understand that full load losses are proportional to square of the current which flows. So when the demand is more on the distribution system, the copper losses or the full load copper losses are much higher in square root proportion. So difference of total loss and the loss obtained from simulation studies is an indicator of the non-technical losses in each distribution feeder. So non-technical losses are total loss minus loss obtained from simulation studies. So level of power losses in various segments of the system. These are the estimates, because we have switchgear systems for which is very difficult to assess such losses. So on an average, these are the estimates which one can presume. Step-up transformers and extra high voltage transmission system losses should be within the range of 0.5 to 1%. Then transformation to intermediate voltage level transmission system and step down to sub transmission voltage level, the losses can be in the range of 1.5 to 3%. And other sub transmission system and step down to distribution voltage level, the losses could be in the range of 2.25 to 4.5%. And finally, in the distribution lines and service connection, the losses could be 4 to 7%. This is the weak link between the whole power generation and power utilization, the distribution lines and service connection, where you can see the losses are maximum. And overall losses should be in the range of 8 to 15% or 16%. That should be the technical losses. But exactly what's happening in our distribution system, we are crossing these limits. Many of our distribution companies are recording losses as high as 30 to 50% or so. We'll see in one of the case study when this presentation is over. As we discussed in the first session also, there have been problems in energy auditing, and if you look from those problems from energy accounting point of view, we have such problems. We do not have meters. There are still many consumers which are not being, their energy consumption is not being metered. Then we have inadequate workforce. Now the present trend is not to employ more people. There are many distribution companies which are facing this problem. Workload has increased on the workforce, so because of which their efficiencies being getting affected. Then we have insufficient number of computers. Still many distribution companies are having this type of problem. Then time parallax in data collection, that is synchronizing the meter readings at the distribution transformers and the consumer, that synchronization is missing. Then correction in workforce, this is a factor which is affecting our revenue collection. So these are some of the factors which are responsible for not proper energy accounting. There have been IT solutions to or interventions which are now assisting energy accounting. Maybe at a separate session you will have some interaction with IT experts how such softwares are being used. In the case study of Dakshin Haryana Vidyut Nigam, we will have one such type of software where they are trying to take assistance. So we'll have a look at that. So advanced IT technologies are helpful in preparation of electrical network database and documentation and consolidation of consumer details, which are essential steps in energy accounting. It's very difficult for a distribution company to keep all the records on manual basis. So, and also now the concept is to have remote metering systems. So this advanced IT technologies can help in synchronizing such readings and securing data as well as managing data, such voluminous energy data. So each consumer can be identified with the distribution transformer through which she or he is fed, and then each distribution transformer can be identified with the feeder on which the transformer is installed. That is, if you start indexing a consumer, we have to start from the consumer, then to which transformer he is being fed, then which feeder is supplied to the transformer. So that indexing can be done, and many of the distribution company have already started this exercise, and this is one of the tasks which is being performed by distribution company. So in turn, each feeder can be identified with the substation from which electric supply is received. This would be done by giving one code number to each consumer. Finally, so through these codes, the consumer can be identified. And once, if you read that code, you will be in a position to find out which transformer, through which transformer he is being fed the supply, which is the feeder and which is the main substation from where the supply is being fed. So in addition, the bill should include the identification of meter reader and applicable tariffs. So computerized billing software placed at division, subdivision level should be designed to capture the concept of tracking the consumer to the electrical network and meter reader. Management information system reports of each feeder could be generated without suitable financial energy management system, through suitable financial energy management system software packages which have been developed to meet specific needs of the circle. So we will now discuss a case study.
Friends, you can ask any question. Our toll-free number is 1800-12345. And our studio phone numbers are 011-2953-2844, 2953-2845. If you have any doubt, you can ask at any time during the presentation. Now we will discuss one case study related to the energy accounting.
This case study belongs to Dakshin Haryana Bijli Vitran Nigam, and this is the case which has been put on the internet, and which reflects the type of efforts this particular distribution company has undertaken. This is basically a history how this whole power utility system was established when Haryana separated from Punjab, and I will skip these things. If you look at the basic facts of Haryana power sector, this has a available generation capacity of 4,000 megawatt. Own generation is around 1,580 megawatt, and share in other project is around 2,400 megawatt. And but the peak demand of this utility is, the state is around 4,000 megawatt. So generation capacity is around 4,000 megawatt, peak demand is 4,000 megawatt. So you can very well imagine that the state will not be in a position to meet this peak demand, because all the time 100% generation is not available. There is a plant load factor. It could be 70%, it could be 75%. So there will be always shortage during the peaking time. The other interesting fact you can see here, the per capita consumption of Haryana state is around 600. This data is about 1.5 year old data, and national average is now around 650 kilowatt hours. So we are David. This state, the per capita consumption is slightly less than the national average. consumer wise, it's more around 40 lakh consumer this particular state has. There are two basically distribution companies. One is Uttar Haryana Bijli Vitran Nigam and the second is Dakshin Haryana Bijli Vitran Nigam. And we are going to discuss the efforts which this Dakshin Haryana Bijli Vitran Nigam has undertaken. Basically there is one main transmission company, Haryana Vidyut Prasaran Nigam, which has a jurisdiction about 33 kV voltage, and the distribution company, this particular distribution company has a jurisdiction over 33 kV and below voltages. Basically there are three voltage systems in this particular distribution company: 33 kV, 11 kV and 0.433 kV, that is 433 volts. So electricity is transmitted from major generating stations at 400 kilovolts and then step down to 220 kV, 132 kV, 66 kV, 33 kV and 11 kV voltage levels. This particular distribution company statistics, one can see that connected load of this company is 5,800 megawatt, and it has 33 kV substation 133 and 11 kV feeders 2,298. There are 9 districts which this state distribution company is feeding. Now you can see here the type of ST to LT ratio in this particular distribution company. There is only one district where the ST to LT is more than 1. In rest of the districts you can see here the LT lines are in terms of kilometers are more than ST lines. So this is one of the factors which we were discussing earlier, that ST to LT ratio in the whole country is very poor. That's the reason why we have more distribution losses. So this particular distribution company purchases 3 crore units every day and dispatches to the consumer at the rate of ₹3. Please note that this data is about 2 years old data. And it's able to bill only 70%, that is 2 crore units per day, and 1 crore unit are lost every day. Either they are stolen or it's a technical loss. Effectively, the distribution company was in a position to account only for 2 crore units out of 3 crore units which it has bought from a generating company or any supplier. So that means if you consider losses are 30%, but if you consider the commercial losses also for which people are not paying in time, then these losses are around 36%. That's the status of this particular distribution company. If you look at the various districts in which this company is supplying, you can notice that there are different level of aggregate technical and commercial losses. It's quite surprising. I mean, this would not have been possible unless energy accounting was done. If you go as a state level, then you have one common figure of 36%, but once you get into energy accounting, then you are in a position to find out what have been the losses at the various levels. So that's the one of the step, the actual, I mean, you can see the real situation. Now you have some districts in this particular case example where the losses are going, AT&C losses are going more than 60%, 65%. So the target area for this particular distribution company will be, they will be prioritizing to on such their efforts or capital investment in such districts where they are exceeding high AT&C losses. They may not be putting much attention in this particular district, that's Gurgaon district, but they will be putting a lot of attention on this Bhiwani, Hisar, these districts where the losses are more than 40%, 50%, 60%. So that's one of the benefit what one can see from the energy accounting, because now you are in a position to target, you are in a position to prioritize your capital investment. Now this figure reveals what's happening in the country. Again, the data is around 3 years old data, but it's quite possible these levels might have come down in many of the states. So in 2003, 2004, the data, CA data, the national average was 32% transmission and distribution losses. You can see this green line. If you compare this performance with respect to foreign countries, their losses are not more than 7% or 8%. Japan or USA or other developed countries, at the best, at the most, they may be touching 10%, but not more than that. So that means more than 22% of our energy is being simply wasted. So that's one of the reasons. In fact, many experts, they say if you are able to bring down our transmission and distribution losses to the extent of developed nations, whatever gap is there between demand and supply in the electricity case, I mean whatever this shortages we are experiencing or blackout we are experiencing during morning and evening peak hours, all of us will not be in a position, all of us will not be facing that type of problem if we can bring down our transmission and distribution losses to the developed country levels. Now within this, you can see at least half of the states of our country are exceeding this national average even. The best which has been reported in this case, okay, Meghalaya is a small one, but if you take a big state, Tamil Nadu, is 17%. This data again I would say is of the year 2003-04. The situation might have changed. All these tall figures might have come down because many efforts are being taken by distribution and utilities company. Now you see the transmission distribution loss in the country, how this has behaved. This was the period when liberalization started taking place. Earlier the transmission distribution losses was merged in the agriculture feeders. I mean it was reported as if the consumption is more in our agriculture sector, but once the the liberalization started, then the real picture started appearing. That's why you see the losses have increased, because the accounting was not done properly. Maybe intentionally the losses were clubbed or that was taken as in the agriculture sector, for which many of the states have subsidies, no billing is being raised. That was the reason why the very low level of T&D loss was projected. But after liberalization, you can see how these losses have tend to increase. But more or less situation was same, but it was a different type of accounting which was earlier adopted, and the accounting which has changed after liberalization. In case of Haryana, you can see here this jump cannot be there because of technical losses or increased commercial losses. This was again the same thing which we said for other states. So now this thing is climbing down. The AT&C losses are climbing down because of the efforts which have been initiated by the two state distribution companies. This is a bar diagram that was a graphical presentation, and this is a bar diagram. You can see very clearly how this whole thing is now changing. In case of one of their circle, the efforts which they have put in, now the AT&C losses have come down in substantially, and by the year 2006-07, that is about a year back, they might have touched a figure of 41%, but still it is much more higher than what is desired. So the strategy which they have devised, how to cut the losses, or through the conduct of energy audit, micro audit. Through micro audit, they would like to identify the theft, and then study user properties, and then better supplies. This is basically, these are some of their strategies. Then they would be adding up the capacities. For example, where overloaded transformers are there, or the circuits are overloaded, they would be reconfiguring or having double circuits so as to reduce losses. build transmission infrastructure, smart management of available power, remote load management system, so as to manage the peak. Then to boost morale, have training for their work staff, performance incentives can be given, where the losses are going down, the incentives can be given. Then management information system, then computerization 100%. That's what is one of their strategies. While doing all this, they would like to involve people. They would, when they involve people, then they would ensure that they have work staff which is consumer friendly, and then at the village level they have representatives which can support or extend their help to them. So they are targeting these two areas, technical loss reduction and commercial loss reduction. Some of these things we have discussed. As per their estimate, 1% can be lost in wires, 3% can be lost in transformers, and there are some other areas where it is difficult to identify the losses, loose joints, reactive energy. Then to reduce technical losses, basically the aim is to reduce purchase of units or increase units built, improve collection efficiency, matching carrying capacity of lines with respect to load, optimal loading of lines and transformers, redundancy in the distribution transformers, distribution system, and adequate reactive power compensation through power factor capacitors. This is one of their program, high voltage direct system in all villages by end 2007. Hopefully, I think they might have achieved by this time. Better transformers, they would like to go for amorphous core transformers which have around 70%, 75% less no load losses in comparison to CRGO transformers. Then second stage is they would like to reconfigure, that is changeover of loads or feeding sources. For example, there is a consumer which is being supplied from a substation, and he is placed at around 10 km from the substation, but there could be an opportunity that that consumer can be fed from other substation which is hardly 2 km from that consumer. So it's a reconfiguring, the consumer's position can be switched over to the nearest substation. So they are trying to identify, then reconductoring, then for reactive power compensation, installing shunt or series capacitors, auto voltage boosters, additional link lines as a last resort to go in for another substation, followed by reconfiguration. They, as I was mentioning, that they are planning to use software tools also. One tool is IOSP, Integrated Optimum System Planning Tool, and which is being used to determine and prioritize such works which results in maximum LRV, that is loss reduction and voltage improvement. When you reduce the loss, naturally your supply, your receiving end voltage will improve with the least investment. So this software will help in achieving the desired LRVI. So based on cost benefit ratio, the best option for investment can be chosen. So they are trying to use such type of IT solutions. Then combination of GIS and network analysis tools like PowerNet, this is another tool which they might be using it. Then however, these studies are to be done keeping in view future load growth, aiming for a 5-year horizon. That is the 5-year plan which they would have in their mind. Another strategy is segregation of feeders, rural to rural feeders separated from village feeder, because normally we have one common feeder through which agriculture load is being provided, as well as domestic load in the agriculture in the rural area is providing. So they would be separating out these two feeders, single feeder into two feeders. They might have done by this time. Then installation of capacitors on all transformers, that is on the secondary side of the transformer, so that the transformer losses are also reduced. Then bifurcation of feeders and reconductoring, then DT metering all transformer by end 2000. They might have done by this time. All distribution transformer metering they might have done by this time. This is one of the example in one of village where high voltage direct supply was made. Dwellings in this particular village was 600, consumer before implementation of HVDS was 300. After implementing this, they could release connection for 100 more consumers, and the cost of project was 47 lakhs, and extra revenue which they have generated because of HVDS 11.8 lakhs, and the payback period was within 4 years. If you consider whatever transformers were dismantled, that salvage value of that transformer, if it is taken into account, then the payback period was within 3 years. This is basically, even a private sector would like to adopt any energy management system which is in a position to give 3 years payback period. This is a norm which normally is being followed by all major groups in the industrial sector. So this particular utility, the distribution company has properly planned this system, and this is very well acceptable because the payback period is well within the limits. So whatever cost is being incurred, it is being recovered back within the acceptable time period.
So the criteria for deciding the payback period is, I think this should be depend upon the cost of the project also.
Yes, cost of the project, availability of capital. There are many factors which taken into account. The savings also. For example, if there is a deterioration in the savings, then they have to look into this. Then the cost of procuring capital also. If interest is very high of that capital, then that also needs to be taken into account. But in all energy audit studies, the concept of simple payback period is not being accepted by the industry as such. One has to perform IRR, then return on investment, all that, those financial detail analysis, and also to carry out sensitivity analysis. So these are the, in industry, consumers are adopting these financial models. Nowhere now simple payback period concept is being accepted.
Okay.
As we discuss, commercial losses are bills which are not paid. I will skip because we have already discussed. So the action which they are planning to take, they will be disconnecting defaulters, anti-theft measures they are going to evoke, meter relocation outside premises. There is one case also where they have done this. Then hooking consumers under metering, performance targets for staff, no targets of supervisors since 1970. There was no target, there was no responsibility allocated to any supervisor since 1970. Now specific targets have been fixed. So this has been possible only because of energy accounting. You can see, the changes which are coming in a distribution company. And now specific targets are being fixed, and penal action will be taken by this company if those targets are not achieved. Metering is one step which they are targeting, then appropriate range of meters with reference to the connected load, electronic meters which have facilities for time of day metering, tamper-proof data, and remote reading facilities, use of energy audit as a tool to pinpoint areas of high losses, and eradication of theft, and automatic meter reading systems. So these are some of the measures which they have undertaken, and finally let's have one small case where they have relocated the meter. This is one particular feeder where this has been recorded that the revenue has been achieved, increase was 56%, and in other case 31% when meters were relocated. So for more details, one can get in touch with the management of Dakshin Haryana Vidyut Nigam. Thank you.
So I hope these lectures would help you in effective learning and functioning, and I express my gratitude to Shri Chakravarti for sparing his valuable time with us and enlightening us on various aspects of the energy accounting and energy auditing. Thank you, sir. And we will again be in discussion after 15 minutes. We will discuss about the disaster management with other experts. Thank you.